So I sat down North Adams State, and I was sitting in front of one of the North Adams State players and his father who'd come down to see him play, and he was saying, well, you guys probably play Western Connecticut tomorrow night. And he says, well, it should be a tough game tonight. He says, no, it's not going to be a tough game. That team's already lost 6. That'll be an easy game. And I wanted to find him after the game and ask him how easy it was. I think that more than anything else, because everywhere we went, we were number 6. We were the 4th seeded because of our 6 losses. We were the bottom seeded, and everybody thought, and even when I talked to the Franklin and Marshall coach, I said, were we as good as you thought we would be? And he says, to be honest with you, he says, only one team from your region has ever got outside your region. This has always been an automatic loss for the Northeast region. And he says, we really didn't expect you to be as good as you were, especially when you were seeded 4th in your region and you had 6 losses. And so when we got to the Final Four, and I'm looking at Trenton State with 30-1, and Wisconsin Whitewater with just 2 losses, and Center with, I think, 2 losses.
I think they were almost as many as us.
Yeah,
3 or 4 losses.
I think they had.
Oh, okay. Yes, I think you're right. The question is, do we really belong at the Final Four? Mm-hmm. Does a team from Maine, do the kids from Maine belong in a national championship tournament? And I think that after we lost the first night, see, in the first night, the game, if you look at the score of the game, you say that Southern Maine got blown away. Well, I, as a coach, had a decision to make at about a point with about 8 or 8.5 minutes left. We're down to 12.
Right.
Okay,
right.
now, we can very comfortably lose by 8 to 12 points. That's not a bad blowout. That's fine. That's comfortable. I didn't go there to lose. I went there to win. So now we take a chance and we put some pressure on, do some traps, and hope that we can get a couple of turnovers, get the game down to 4, and then pack it in again. Okay, this is what's going through my mind. So we press, we do some traps, and we open up the game. Now, there was one point when Grant went wild, and everybody says he went wild. He didn't go wild. What he did was take advantage of our opening up the floor. When we packed it in the first game, Pat stole the ball from him. He went in, he tried to shoot. He had, I don't know, 10 or 11 points. But he was scoring 32 a game.
Right.
So we did a good job up to a point. When we opened up the floor and allowed his quickness to take over, it was a gamble. As it turned out, it was probably a dumb coaching move. But my point was, I was not going there to come in comfortably close. Right. So we took a 20-point loss, and now the question is, gee, do these guys really belong? Well, if we'd lost by 15 or 20 to Center, then I'm not sure we would all feel as good about the season as we do right now, because the feeling would be, well, we did nice in our region, but I'm not sure we're good enough to be there. I don't think there's any question in anybody's mind we were good enough to be there. Now, just because of, they don't really seed the teams in that. Regions play regions, so it's like a flip of the coin. So we could have very easily played Center in the first game, and now instead of we're playing in the championship game because of the luck of the draw. Well, our luck of the draw said we're going to face Trenton, and they're a pretty good basketball team. Whitewater was equally as good, if not better. Obviously, they won. But they came out. I don't think there's any question in my mind in the feeling of the game, and maybe Pat and I haven't talked about it, but I don't think there's any question in my mind. Whitewater came to win the championship. I don't think Trenton State came to win the championship. I think they came to play.
They expected to win it,
but not win it.
Right.
And there's a difference. I mean, you can. You've been around this game long enough. You can feel the electricity in the air. You know whether your team is ready. And there was no question in our game with Center. There was no question we were going to win the basketball game because our people came to win it. They came to play it.
Did the coach have a lot to do with that, Pat?
Yes, it always has a lot to do with when we win.
What were your thoughts, Bob, right after the loss to Trenton? Did your thoughts immediately turn to winning the next game, the next night?
Yeah, I don't, as a coach, I guess over the years you just learn to say, yay, we won, or too bad we lost, and then leave it. Try to pick up and gain from wherever you are and learn your mistakes, but you have to go on. And I think at that point, I'm not sure the kids on the team, the players on the team, really understood the magnitude of the next night's game, because they were blown away. They were devastated because they had a chance for national championship no matter what happened. We got a game tomorrow, but we didn't go there to play tomorrow. We went there to win the national championship, and everybody on our team felt we could win it, including myself. And I don't think there's any question. We had a good shot. And if a ball bounces here, we didn't shoot well. We played uncharacteristically of our team play. We had a shot, and we didn't have that. So they're down. If I'm at all a half-decent coach, I can't be down. I mean, they take a look at me and see me down, then we all go in the corner and cry and can't play the next night. So, no, I went ready. When it was over, I took my half-hour sabbatical up in the press box and did those things the same as they did. And then the next morning, we pulled together as a team and decided just where we were going to go.
Now, you had said last year finishing third place in the region was a stepping stone towards this season. What does finishing third place in the nation mean for next season now?
Oh, I think, as far as I'm concerned, I think, again, it says we have a creditable program. We belong there. We know that if we play well, now we've got a couple big holes to fill next year with Bauer's gone, who was everybody's all-everything, and Mike Franco, who is one of these players who just rolls up his pants and gets a little bit dirty and gets it done. He's not anybody. If everybody would say, you're going to miss Bowers, everybody out there would say, no, excuse me, you're going to miss Franco. Everybody would say, no, you won't miss him. What did he do? Pat knows, and I know we're going to miss Mike Franco because he was the glue for the team. He really held us together. So we're going to miss those two guys, but we got a couple players here that can fill in, and hopefully in the recruiting end we can pull in somebody that can do a few of the things that those people can do.
This should help you a little in recruiting, I would imagine.
Oh, I think it will, because I think more than anything else, as a young man, you want to go to a quality program. You want to go to a program that's doing things, that's exciting, that's vibrant. And when you play in the Little East, you're going to Massachusetts and Connecticut and Rhode Island, and you're playing down in that area, and you're playing against kids from out of state, and you're proving yourself. And we take good trips. We've been successful the past 2 years in the NCAA. If I were a young man, I definitely would be interested because of the level of competition, and it's exciting. As a player, you know, if you're a real athlete at heart, you want to go out each night and you want to play the best. You don't want to play. 40-point wins aren't fun. They're fun once in a while because everybody gets a chance to do their thing. But a 40-point win, night in, night out, is not fun because it isn't really proving yourself. And our schedule this year, we played very tough teams, and we had to play them night in, night out, and we lost some, and we won some. But by the end, we were a strong basketball team.
Okay, once again, we're talking with University of Southern Maine basketball coach Bob Brown and one of his players, Pat Moody, from Wells High School. We're going to take a break on Sportlight, and we'll return with part 2 of our interview in just a moment.
Experience one of the most exciting luncheon menus around at Litchfield's. Choose a light fare item like mozzarella sticks or smoked mussels. Then try one of Litchfield's delicious luncheon entrees, including taco salad, chef salad, Chuck's Dilemma, a hearty Reuben James, or Litch's Tina Tuna Melt. They're guaranteed to satisfy the biggest appetite. Whether it's a business associate or the entire family, make Litchfield's your choice.
Steer your way into Hutchins Chevrolet and reward yourself with a brand new car today. Check out the large selection of new and used trucks, cars, and vans. Cruise the coast in a sleek new Corsica LT or enjoy the luxury and comfort of a new Caprice Classic. No matter what your vehicle needs, you can count on Tom, Chuck, Lee, or Dave to give you the best possible deal. For the best in service and the best prices in the area, it's Hutchins Chevrolet, Route 1 in Ogunquit, quietly doing business for over 148 years.
Welcome back to more of Sportlight. I'm Eric Nelson along with Mike Lowe, and we're at the Hall of Fame room at the Warren Hill Gymnasium in Gorham on the campus of the University of Southern Maine Huskies. And with us, 2 very special guests this evening, the head coach of the Huskies, Bob Brown, and one of his guards, Pat Moody, a graduate from Wells. And Pat, getting back a little bit to what we talked about in the first part, and that's the experience of the Final Four. Now, you played on the 1983 state championship team for Wells. How do the 2 experiences compare for you?
Well, for me, it's a lot of a similar feeling because you win in basketball games and there's a lot of electricity around the town or the community that you're in. You know, back home, you know, your brothers, your sisters, you go to class, everybody knows about it. And up at the point that we got to, you know, you go to class and everybody be asking you, you know, how's practice going, you know, where you going to this weekend, you know, when you're leaving and everything. And it's a similar situation. But I think looking back upon it, I think the magnitude of what we've done this year is much greater than in high school. But I don't think that something that will set in because of the similar feeling until a couple of years down the road.
Now, you took 3 years off from school after you graduated in 1983, and then came back to USM basically to start all over again. Did you ever envision having a chance at something like this again, Pat?
No, I didn't. I didn't even come back to school. I came for basketball. I came back to school because I wanted to go to school, because I had planned on it when I got out of school that I would start working, and if I wasn't happy, that I would go and I would go back to school. And I went and I worked, and after a year I said, well, I'm not really sure. And after 2 years I wasn't really sure, and after the third year I said, well, I'm going to do it. So I finally went back to school, and I said, well, I think I'll try to play basketball once I get there. And I tried to play, and I wasn't even sure if I was going to make the team. In fact, I remember tryouts went on for about a week and a half before I knew whether I was going to make the team or not, because there was a couple extra players, and some of them were going down to JV, and some of them were going to make varsity. And I remember it was a while before I even knew if I was ever going to play. And I didn't really ever see this in the future.
Now, Coach Brown came in your sophomore year, right?
Yep.
What's it like playing for him?
Well, it's very intense. It's not like you come into practice just because you're here for 2 hours and you go to the gym. You come and you're here a half hour before practice. You're ready to go 15 minutes before practice. You're mentally prepared. It's not like you're just here. You're here with a purpose in mind.
And Bob, you've coached in basketball for 29 years, all but 5 in Maine, right?
Right.
BU for 3 and 2 in St. A's for 3. Is that something that you feel is very is necessary for a successful program, for the kids to have that intensity all the time, to know that they're there for a purpose?
I think, it's like life. In life, if you do things, whatever you do it well. You do the best you can. From that point on, nobody can find fault with you. When you step on the basketball floor, then you do what you have to do to become the best you can be. It is not important that you be the best, only that you try. And that's all I ask of my players, is that when you step on the floor, be mentally prepared, be physically prepared, and now go out and work. And if it's for an hour and a half, work as hard as you can. If it's for 2 hours, work as hard as you can. Fortunately for me, I seem to have some good players, and usually have some kids that will and are willing to work very hard. And so good things happen for us.
What about this kid here? He took 3 years off from competitive play. I'm sure you played in the rec leagues and everything, right? But are you surprised at his skill level still, despite that layoff?
No. In fact, if I could have a team, I would take mostly young men who have been out of school that are mature.
Why is that?
Well, because it's the maturity factor. It's very easy to deal with somebody like Pat. And a lot of things that people don't realize is that Pat Moody started probably 80% of the year. And we got to a point in the season where I, as the coach, felt it would be better for the team if I had him coming off the bench, like a Havlicek or something like that. That's not easy. That's not easy for a young man to accept, because it's a pride thing. And all of a sudden, you go from on a very good team to from a starting position to a non-starting position. Everybody says, how come you're not starting, and this and so forth. Boy, Coach Brown is mean to you, he's picking on you, you should be starting, and so forth. Well, our team functioned better with him coming off the bench, because he could come off as a point guard, or he could come off as a off guard. And the thing, I brought Pat in my office and I told him what I was going to do. And the maturity factor of a very quality young man said, that's fine, Coach, whatever is right for the ball team. And if he were a 17-year-old, he might have pouted, he might have been upset, he might have thought more of himself, but not Pat, and he has handled it, and I don't think there's any question. Everybody who comes to our games knows the quality of this young man and know what he did for our team this year. And there's no way that we have anywhere near the success. We certainly wouldn't have even got through the Little East. Todd Miranda, our point guard, was out for a month and a half. And there's Pat, and I think he's primarily an off guard, not a point guard. And he came in, and we just kept right on winning. And so much of this season is the result of this young man's character. And that's one of the reasons that if you can get a little bit of age and maturity, it really helps the team.
Is it a different, do you have to prepare yourself differently now, Pat, for the games than when you started, or?
Yeah, it is a little bit different feeling because you're playing a different role. You're not coming in at the beginning of the game. You're going to come in and you're going to try to do something to raise the level of the team. And you might not be coming in and shooting a three-pointer or doing anything special, but if you can just set the right pick or maybe pick up a loose ball, any little thing that you can do might be able to raise the level of the team. So it's a little bit different on a mentality basis.
See, the one thing that Pat did that nobody else on our team could do, he could come in and create havoc immediately because of his quickness, because of his ability. He's probably the best player I've ever coached in 29 years of being able to leave his man and dig out a ball from somebody else. In our center game, we're up by 10 or 11 points, and we're cruising along, and all of a sudden it comes down. Now it's a 2-point ball game. It's their ball coming down the floor. Now all of it, he makes the steal. He creates the havoc. He makes the steal. He did the same thing against Western Connecticut. He made an unbelievable drive against Western Connecticut. If you could ever see it, where he went in, and he went up, and the kid blocked the shot. And on the way down, Pat managed to not only get the ball off, but draw a foul in the three-point play and just explode the ball game. And this havoc that he could create and change tempo picked up our team and helped really destroy the other team. And he undersells it. I certainly don't. The amount of what he contributed was amazing.
Of course, Coach, we know that Pat was part of a very dynamic backcourt at Wells, along with Dave Chadbourne. You, I know, attend high school games. You coached at high school for many years. Do you see the state of Maine producing some more high-caliber players that can continue to play for a USM or any college in the state and still bring these colleges up into national prominence?
I don't think there's any question there's ball players across the state. One of the things that the kids from Maine have better than a lot of the other states is a work ethic. When you go to a camp, if I go and I give a clinic at a summer camp, there is no question. If I go to a camp in Maine, everybody's sitting there looking like this and they're paying attention. If I go to a camp somewhere else, half of them are laying back, they're like this, they're saying, oh God, this guy's going to have to talk to us for half an hour, and I guess we'll have to sit here and listen to him. Kids in Maine aren't like that. Everywhere you go, every college coach will tell you the same thing. It's fun to come up here and work with these kids. Their work ethic is outstanding. What we don't have in Maine is we don't have cities of 2 and 3 million. We don't have a population base of 17 or 18 million. We have a smaller population base, therefore we don't have as many kids playing. The inner city basketball in the state of Maine is not like the inner city basketball in Massachusetts or New York or whatever, so you get a different type of basketball. But as far as the quality, the coach out there said, gee, Coach, I noticed everybody's from Maine. He says, don't you recruit Massachusetts, Connecticut? I says, no. He says, how come? I says, why? I says, we're in the Final Four and I've got all Maine kids. What do I have to go anywhere else for? And my whole recruiting this year is Maine. The kids that I get from out of state are kids that coaches who know me from my BU and St. Anselm days who pick up the phone and they say, hey, Coach, I've got a kid that would, I want you to take a look at and so forth. That is the extent of my recruiting outside the state, and probably will be for the most part.
Now, it would be, I would think, very easy for you to go down to Massachusetts and scout kids, recruit kids, but I would think for you it's very much a pride factor to have your team 99% Maine kids.
Well, that's part of it, and also I know Maine kids, and living in the state, I should be able to, if I'm any kind of a coach, you should be able to pick up the phone and say, Coach, what do you think of this kid? And I should know about 90%. Now, all of them, especially when you get up north, I don't get up there quite as much, but I should know. I don't know down in Massachusetts. I'm not involved with them. I think the Maine basketball players, for the most part, are better than the others in the tri-state area of New Hampshire and Vermont. There's usually far more quality in numbers in Maine than New Hampshire and Vermont. Obviously not Massachusetts, but I don't tend to do a lot of recruiting outside the state. I feel very comfortable with the Maine kids. There's enough quality here. There's enough talent here for us to have a quality program. Whether we can get back to the Final Four, that's as much luck as anything in the world. Not having a sprained ankle, not having a sickness, coming up with a loose ball. He steals the ball, official blows the whistle and calls it a foul. The whole game is different. So we know it's luck, but I don't tend to do a whole lot outside the state.
Now, Bob, you left South Portland and went to BU. You were there for a couple of years under Rick Pitino, who's now at the Knicks. You left there to go to St. A's. A month later, I believe it was, Rick left to go to Providence. That was a Division I job. Do you ever see yourself trying to get back to a Division I program? I know when you left St. A's, you came back to Maine because you missed Maine. Mm-hmm. Is this your last stop? Or?
Every place I've ever coached was my last stop, because I've always had the feeling that I will go there and do absolutely the best job that's ever been done there. That's my goal. Now, obviously, I don't do it, but that is my goal. And here at Southern Maine, I don't intend to leave. I intend to stay right here. Now, that doesn't mean if somebody knocks on that door and says some nice things that I won't leave, but I don't intend to go knock on anybody else's door. So I intend to stay here and get the job done and try to run the best possible program that I can for USM.
Pat, if you had to capsulize this season in one moment, what would it be?
I'd have to say that winning the Senate game, because that was something. I think we went through a lot of adversity this year. We had a lot of people injured, and we've had some few problems on the team. And I think that's something that we came back, and that was like the season was. There was adversity in the beginning, and at the end of the season we came on strong. I think that's similar to our experience in the Final Four.
Okay, congratulations to you, Bob, and to you, Pat, on a very successful season. The Huskies going 24-7 and finishing number 3 in the country in Division III. Now, when we return on Sportlight, Mike and I will pick our all-Sportlight basketball team for the boys and girls in the 5 schools that we cover here on New England Cablevision. We'll return in just a moment.
We're La Valley Lumber, your neighbor in the lumber business, no matter where you are. We have the fastest delivery and the widest possible selection of quality building materials. For quality outdoor applications, nail down a lifetime guarantee with Womanized pressure-treated wood. And Womanized lumber is marked with this blue tag to show you it's guaranteed for life against termites or decay. At La Valley, we have complete deck packages featuring Womanized wood for a lifetime of enjoyment. At La Valley Lumber, we bring the whole store to your door. Call us today.
Welcome back to more of Sportlight. I'm Eric Nelson along with Mike Lowe as we bring you our special show from the University of Southern Maine in Gorham, as you just witnessed our interview with head coach Bob Brown and one of his players, Pat Moody from Wells. Once again, we would like to thank both of those gentlemen for joining us this evening. But before we close out the show tonight, Mike and I and producer Bob Gould sat down and picked our all-Sportlight team for the boys and girls in the 5 schools that New England Cablevision services. Now, the 5 schools would be 3 A schools, Biddeford, Noble, and Sanford, and 2 B schools, Wells and York. And, without further ado...
Well, first, we should say that not everyone is going to agree with these
this
teams.
Is true. This is true.
You know, from experience, I know that, but I think the kids that we did finally select to the teams are probably kids who were very valuable in their own ways to the team's success. You know, they all didn't have the greatest stats or undoubtedly biggest stats out there, but for their teams to be as successful as they were, you know, these kids really produced in their own special ways.
Okay, so without further ado, here's the boys' team. Now, as you can see, we've done it by position, and we've mentioned the team next to the player's name. The 2 guards from Sanford, junior Rob Laprise, and from Wells, Mike Gergely. Laprise is the only junior on the boys' team. Now, Rob Lambert is the center from Wells. He is a senior, and Jeff St. Laurent and John Stillwagon are the 2 forwards. They are both seniors from Sanford, and we decided to choose a 6th man, Mike. And our 6th man will be Stefan Webster of York, and Stefan is also an underclassman.
Yeah, Stefan's only a sophomore, Eric, and he's obviously got a great future ahead of him. When I was calculating the York County stats, he was one of 2 players who was in the top 10 in every category, steals, assists, rebounds, and scoring.
So quite an accomplishment. And the coach on the boys' team will be Sanford coach Doug Roberts. Sanford was the SMAA champs in the boys, so Coach Roberts is the coach. Now we'll move to the girls, Mike.
Thanks, Eric. On the girls' side, it's pretty much, again, dominated by upperclassmen. At the guard position, we have Wells Sue Stevens, who would be the point guard on this team. And she's joined in the backcourt by York Junior Carrie Goslin, if you want to call her the number 2 shooting guard. The center should be no surprise, Lisa Cody of Sanford with her 27 points and 16 rebounds a game. undoubtedly the inside force in the state this year. The two forwards, seniors, both playing in the East-West All-Star game. Heather Briggs from Biddeford, no surprise there, and Holly McHale of Wells, who had a superb season for the Warriors. And our sixth-man person/player, York High School senior Shelby Marshall, who holds the school record in rebounding. She accomplished that this year. Again, of the 6 spots, 5 are held by seniors, and Goslin, the lone junior. And our coach, tough selection here. We put a lot of thought into this and came up with York's Rick Clark, who brought his Wildcats within 2 points of the Western Maine Class B championship this year. Eric?
I think the coach was maybe the most difficult choice out of all the picks was the girls' coach. He easily could have picked Roland Cody at Sanford.
Oh, without a doubt. Roland did a great job at Sanford this year. I think the key there is he might have had a little more talent than Rick. I'm not sure. But, you know, either way, we couldn't have gone wrong,
Right.
I don't think. And Rick Clark, Girls Coach of the Year, Sportlight. 2
of the top coaches in the state. So that's our all Sportlight team for the boys and the girls. And as we leave you tonight, we'll leave you with one more treat, and we'll be the roll call of champions, I guess you could call it, as we'll be listing the champions of the winter sports for 1988 and 89. So that's going to wrap up another edition of Sportlight. Coming up soon in a future edition of Sportlight, we'll be having our baseball preview show and a softball preview show as we start taking a look at the spring sports that will be starting up next month. So, for Sportlight, I'm Eric Nelson.
And I'm Mike Lowe.
Good night, everyone.